Of all the things that I teach and share, I try to do them all, but this simple little promise, which is in the Florence prescription book, a little laminated card, has been for me personally and for a lot of the people we work with more life-changing than anything. And it simply says, I will turn every complaint, my head is killing me, into a blessing. Thank God for modern pharmacology. Or a constructive suggestion. First symptom of dehydration is a headache. I should drink some water. I had to park 6 blocks and walk all the way to the mall. Thank God you have legs. As you know, there are a lot of people who would give anything to have those aching feet. Thank God you have a mall and you don't live in Haiti or Somalia. Oh, and by the way, if you put down the donut and went to the gym, maybe walking 6 blocks wouldn't be such a pain. There's nothing that can happen to you if you have that perspective that you can't turn into a blessing and an action step. And this pickle challenge we have been giving people has just taken on a life of its own. We're seeing people bring in pickle jars, and when you bitch, moan, whine, complain, you get fined. Put a quarter in the jar. One day a guy came in and said, I know it's going to be a shitty day. Here's $1. I'm paying in advance. We're seeing people put up signs like these, declaring their workspace a pickle-free zone, like we used to do, declare your workspace a smoke-free zone. I don't want to hear it. Leave your complaining and whining at the door. Take it to the employee health program. They get paid to hear it. I don't. We're seeing singing pickles, dancing pickles. That's Becky Caldwell. Becky is at a hospital in Nebraska. Becky is 6'4". When she puts that costume on, she's 12 feet tall. And she goes around delivering pickle pops and singing a song, reminding people what a blessing it is to do what we do and to stop whining and complaining about it and just do the work. We're seeing people like at Alverno Clinical Labs in Indiana posting bulletin boards asking people to make the commitment by signing the board. At a health system in Arkansas, I met Mr. Pickle. He is a 3.5-foot tall piñata. And he travels around the health system, and when you get him, you get to dress him up any way you want to. As a reminder, when you come in, leave your pickles at the door. I was so impressed, I commissioned the artist to make Mr. Pickle Jr., and he's now in our office reminding us to count our blessings and to do the work. At one of the hospitals in the Wyoming Challenge, they're gathering every day in their lobby to remind each other, to turn every complaint into a blessing, stop whining and complaining. And remember the graph I showed that 80% of people in our survey think that at least 10%, and half of them think more than 20% of all paid hours get wasted on this kind of toxic emotional negativity. So it's a huge potential impact on your organization. They had a pickle jar decorating contest. The little guy on the red brick won. This is, I got this email a few days ago. There's a hospital in Iowa, in Davenport. They were so impressed with Mr. Pickle, they're making their own, but he's 6 feet tall. And when you walk in the door, there he's going to be, reminding you to leave your complaints, your pickles, out in the parking lot. And tomorrow I'm headed to the VA Medical Center in Battle Creek, Michigan. That is the largest provider of mental health services for veterans in the country. And somehow they found out about this. I've never been there before, but they found out. We have done a lot of work with Vision 20 in the Pacific Northwest. And they have been sharing this with veterans. And they had a pickle party. They brought in a cake with a pickle on it. They put the pickle up on the wall. And here's what they're learning. And this is an amazing finding that has huge implications, I believe, for you and the work you do. Because if they can get veterans to start to set aside that poor me victim thinking, to turn complaints into blessings, to find the silver linings, to have my dear friend Michael Crosby as a Capuchin monk, and he wrote a book called Thank God Ahead of Time. Nothing bad can happen to you if your attitude is thank you. You know, Christopher Reeve, when he said being paralyzed is something I'm glad, he said he wouldn't do it over again. Any of you know W. Mitchell? Mitchell is an amazing guy. He was run over, and he was riding his motorcycle. He was run over. The cap popped off. He became a human torch. It burned off his face and his hands. He went through years of rehab in San Francisco. Finally got out of rehab, moved to Eagle Grove, Colorado to rebuild his life. He started a company, Vermont Castings. They make fireplaces. He said, if you're going to have a fire, confine it. He bought an airplane with special controls he could fly because he doesn't have fingers anymore. And his plane crashed on takeoff one day, and his back was broken, and now he's paralyzed. And he was in rehab and feeling sorry for himself. Who wouldn't? And he got a call one day from a therapist from the hospital in San Francisco. And she said, Mitchell, you used to always tell us, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do about it. Do you still believe that? And he said the truth was he didn't. And he said that call was a wake-up call for me. It was like the 2x4 on the side of the head. And he wrote a book called It's Not What Happens to You, It's What You Do About It. Now he travels all around the world in his wheelchair as a speaker. Very, very successful, but he's touched a lot of lives. And he will tell you what so many, and I know you've heard this because I hear it from people all the time, but I asked him, if you could go back and undo the fire and the plane crash and have your body back, but be the person you would have been had it never happened, would you do it? What do you think his answer was? Think of that. His answer was no, I would never. I'd love to have my body back, but I would never give up who I am. I would never give up the people I've met. And if we could just get people like the veterans who are struggling with PTSD, which, by the way, I've learned is not a stress disorder, it's an identity disorder. It's a disorder of values. And that's what they're finding. That's why I'm going to Battle Creek tomorrow to meet with some of these veterans. They're finding if we could just get people to think about their values and change their attitudes, change the culture that they have at home, we can have a much better impact on their physical health, on their emotional health.